Folks are asking better questions to find out, and probably through that process, encouraging people to know more about themselves. What motivates them? How do they succeed? What kind of recognition do they want?
Welcome to The Parallel Entrepreneur. This is a special series on innovation supported by Relationary Marketing and the Chase Studios, recorded at the Greater Nashville Technology Council Innovation Summit. I'm joined today by guest host Johnny Anderson. He's the entrepreneur in residence at the Nashville Entrepreneur Center. Sit back and join us for this special edition of having authentic conversations with people that care. Growth gets oversimplified more often than we'd like to admit. Amy Henderson is an experienced executive who helps organizations drive enterprise growth by aligning talent, technology, and data, all while operating with financial discipline. Her work focuses on designing strategies that can actually be executed and building the culture and leadership capacity required to sustain them. What sets Amy apart is how deeply she understands the gap between strategy and reality. She spent her career working inside that space, translating vision into action, balancing ambition with rigor, and ensuring growth doesn't outpace the organization's capacity to deliver. In this episode, we unpack why misalignment, not lack of ideas, is what stalls growth, and why sustainable scale only happens when culture, talent, and technology are built together from the start. So let's dive right in. You know, I wonder if chaos isn't the standard and organization is the exception in almost everything. So when you step into an organization and contribute like you have, at one moment it might feel like chaos, and then you get this sense of we've got direction and we've got organization and we're getting the right people involved. Talk to us about something you're celebrating when you've gone from chaos to order.
Chaos to order. It's more like chaos to organized chaos. I feel like a lot of times when you're in that fast-paced, business that we're in, I feel like honestly celebrating teamwork, right? When all of that has come together, it's because people on the team, folks on the team have played their part. They've engaged. They've understood the direction. There's been clear leadership, and that is not simple. That is not easy. You guys both know that. I know a little bit about your backgrounds, and that is something to tremendously celebrate. And people can be the biggest obstacle, but they can also be the biggest contributors to success. And yeah, I think it comes back to people.
In AI, and we talked about chaos and ever changing and ever evolving, the necessity to unlearn. What does unlearn mean?
Yeah,
Unpack that.
That is a really tough one. Unlearn. I think it's stopping yourself from approaching things in the same way, and it's if you've been a leader and organized teams in a certain way for so long, like just imagine that you're not going to do that anymore. You're going to organize by skill sets, and you're going to pull people together inside your organization according to the skills and the expertise that those folks have. I mean, what does that mean for your, managers? What does that mean for your, all of a sudden they don't have that person on their team, or, it's really fascinating. And yeah, I unlearn. I think it's stopping habits, stopping your way of thinking and recognizing your stuff, right? Because your mind is just going to go that way automatically.
It's interesting. We all grew up in an era where we did a DISC profile, or we did a Myers-Briggs, or we did some sort of a psychographic profile. And then the organization would say, oh, well, this person's going to be a good cultural fit. Then they would put you in a job that is a drainer, or maybe they put you in a role that was energizing, but we keep doing these things that we're accustomed to. We sort of trained to suffer a little bit as humans, and then we could just set that down. And what I've seen recently is companies evaluating the role, the job itself, and putting a psychographic profile together for that role, because it's a human role in a human organization, and then fitting the people to the demands and requirements of that role, where it's flexibility, et cetera. And I'm wondering, people are rapidly becoming far more aware of their own things that feed them, and where they're getting energy and how they're contributing energy. So it's not just leaders, but it's us individuals that are being, speak a little bit to that. Is that because the technology is available? Is that because we're more open? What do you think that's about?
Folks are asking better questions to find out, and probably through that process, encouraging people to know more about themselves and what motivates them? How do they succeed? What kind of recognition do they want? That was one of the things that Derek talked about earlier.
Taco bar.
Taco bar, that's right. Hey, I think we're all motivated a little by taco bars. I don't know anybody that wouldn't be, but
if it was a Nashville hot chicken bar,
hot chicken bar.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like there is this real push. The teams right now with what's going on, are generally smaller. They're expecting more from fewer folks. So you want to still maintain that trust, that relationship, that teamwork, even though those folks may be managing, agents, right, rather than people. But in order to make an organization work, you still have to have all of those human components in there. And I do think there's a deeper exploration of what makes someone successful and what might motivate you to be a top performer for our team. And it's a two-way kind of conversation.
It's interesting you said people may be managing agents. Wow, right?
Yeah.
Just rewind just a few years and that would not be in our conversation. What are you doing? Well, I manage a team of agents.
That's right.
Today. And there's 35 of them, and their individual roles look like this and sound like that. Are people adapting to managing agents? Is this something that you see just a subset of people being successful at, or
this
what?
This is part of this evolution, right? Of where instead of a dev lead has 4 folks on their team, they now are running AI agents of 7.
So what do you see in education changes that might happen?
Oh my goodness. That's a tough question. I'm not a total expert on that, but I think this human component and making sure things stay human, that's going to become the rare thing, right? If I go to school and I learn math or I learn computer science or I, dig in on one of these really technical degrees, am I also getting the foundation for that people aspect? And you now only have, I don't know, maybe you only have 10 people on your team who are all doing very different tasks or owning very different parts of the business. That cross silo communication is vital for that to be a success. So there is this people psychology. I think was it Derek this morning that said, don't you, after years of managing people, don't you wish you had studied psychology? And yes, I was one of the ones that raised their hands.
Simon Sinek says people that don't understand people don't understand business.
Yeah.
And I agree with that completely.
More and more every day.
Well, problem solving, right? I mean, we probably, if you look at the fun part about everything that's true, is that you're unbelievably ridiculously successful as a human, and everyone before you was perfectly successful. And everyone before you, Johnny, was perfectly successful. So we're sitting in a room now with a bunch of people grappling with new opportunities and new problems, and we will be perfectly successful.
Agreed.
Hey, thanks for listening to another episode of The Parallel Entrepreneur. And thank you to our sponsors, partners, and the special team behind the scenes that make it all possible. Be sure to like, follow, or subscribe to our podcast and get the latest updates. And to learn more about this growing community of entrepreneurs, our mastermind and companion program for your parallel entrepreneur journey, visit parallelentrepreneur.com. And of course, thank you to all the visionary guests who trust us to share their stories.